Harley Quinn Season 4 was back again this week with a brand new episode entitled Getting Ice Dick Don't Wait Up. I'm Cave Joel, and this is a video series where I give my thoughts and feelings on the episode that was, while also shouting out any comic book Easter eggs or references I can find, and oh boy, there was a lot of them this week, so let's not waste any time. So then, as we join the newest episode, we actually get a chance to check back on in with former Police Commissioner Jim Gordon, who, man, this season has been so stacked I totally forgot we hadn't seen him in a while, but boy is it nice for him to make a return, and it's good to hear Christopher Maloney's voice once more. The dude's doing great dramatic work on TV again with Law & Order Organized Crime, but also, dude is he ever funny. And I love that the Harley show has given him such a vocal outlet for his talent. Turns out Jim had more or less retired to a cabin in the north with his ex-wife Barbara Sr., and for a second there it looks like he's finally ready to leave his old life behind, after getting ousted by Mayor Joker and failing at his own political aspirations. But it's just at that very moment he ends up getting a call from Nora Freeze about becoming a new security guard for the LOD, no doubt replacing the ones that Harley brutalized all the way back in episode 1, and you know what, he jumps at the chance. Again, in case you couldn't tell, a major theme of this season of Harley Quinn seems to be all about how starting a new career late in life will always end up negatively impacting relationships, be it romantic or otherwise, and it's fun to see this idea explored through so many different characters. Meanwhile, over with Harley, her super career hits two major roadblocks during her time with the Batfamily. For starters, her night vision is crap, which is no good considering these heroes fight crime at night basically all the time, and two is that Nightwing is finally fed up with just how familiar Harley is being with the rest of the family despite being such a late addition. No doubt Dick is still angry about the mysterious destruction of his air fryer at the end of the previous episode. Which, you know what, I own the same make and model, aka the cheapest one on Amazon, so I feel his pain. Harley, desperately not wanting to lose face in front of the Bat family, decides to go out of her way to get laser surgery for her eyes, which just so happens to be administered by freaking Supergirl of all people, who uses her own laser vision for the procedure. That is such a clever joke. Why has no one ever done that before? Seriously, Kara has had so many jobs in the comics, she should totally be an optometrist next. The only problem is Harley has no one to drive her home after the procedure, as once again, the love of her life, Poison Ivy, is too busy with brand new LOD business. Her old villain friends won't talk to her, and the Bat family, minus Barbara, are really just her co-workers and not her friends, as this episode seeks to showcase. It's only after blowing up Barbara's phone non-stop does Harley end up catching a ride from Bab's roommate, Alicia Yao. Now, comic fans will recognize Alicia right away. She had her origins in the underrated Gail Simone Batgirl series, and in the years after gained a cult following, so much to the point she got to become a hero in her own right over in the Bombshells universe, and even in the mainline comic canon just recently. She was also supposed to make her live-action debut in that sadly written off for tax purposes Batgirl movie just last year, so it's super damn cool to see her get to live on somewhere. And you know what, for my money, she fits on in with the cast of Harley Quinn basically right away. Alicia is also an out and proud trans woman who is voiced in the show by Rain Valdez, another out and proud trans actress. Chances are, if you watch a lot of TV like me, you probably saw her on an episode of Law & Order SVU back in 2022. Her and Harley actually have a great comedy dynamic because Alicia is a lot more serious and a lot more mellow, where Harley is of course always bouncing off the wall. Now, back over with the Legion of Doom plot, Lex Luthor, still feeling the effects of the last episode and trying to overcompensate for Ivy outshining him, decides to gift Pam his entire PR team, the Johns. At first this might seem like a nice gesture, but as with everything Lex Luthor does in this show, it has a sinister undercurrent. In this case, the Johns end up feeding Ivy's now quickly growing ego by talking her into chasing personal fame and glory at the expense of her socially conscious villainy, as well as mentoring the next generation of young supervillains. And hey, let's talk about Ivy's mentees, by the way, because they are super cool, really well designed, and I think they're going to end up being great additions to the show moving forward. We have Volcano, who we actually met a couple episodes back. She was originally designed for the Superman animated series show before eventually getting canonized herself. An updated version of Terra, who is actually the At-Lee version of Terra, the third DC character ever to use the name, and not to be confused with the much more well-known Terra Markov Terra from the Titans. She's blunt and has a lot of the best deadpan reactions, and I really dig her costume too, as it incorporates a lot of Greek aspects into it, and considering that Terra is the Greek word for Earth, it makes sense. But perhaps most interestingly of all, we have Tefe Holland, aka the child of Swamp Thing Alec Holland and Abigail Arcane, who also happens to be the biological offspring of John Constantine, in case you didn't know. In the comics, they were sometimes known as Sprout, and oh hey, did you hear them name drop the Red, aka the flip side to the green? I really cannot believe believe Harley, this silly comedy show, is doing so much great work in incorporating all these amazing and out there comic book concepts and ideas. You might also notice I keep calling Tefe them because honestly I don't know what their preferred pronouns are. They make a big point of saying to Gordon that not all the mentees are women, so I'm gonna assume they're either gender non-binary or possibly even trans-masc. I'm sure the show will address this at some point in the future and I'll know for sure. The three mentees all have their own plans for evil deeds that fit in with Ivy's new socially conscious villainy ideals, but unfortunately every time they could really use her help, she ends up getting snatched away by the Johns and their plans to chase clout by building a giant Poison Ivy statue. And no, the irony is once again not lost on me at all that Ivy's inner circle that she's building within the LOD is currently made up of an Ice Lady, a Fire Lady, an Earth Lady, and yet another plant person. Now back with the Harley story, she begins to worry that no one can actually reach Batgirl and it's been 2 whole days. She tries to get Nightwing to help, but Dick, living up to his name, gives her the cold shoulder and reminds her that she's not actually a member of the Batfamily, she's just Harley along for the ride. And hey, if the heroes aren't going to help her, it looks like Harley is going to have to lean on Alicia once more. What's funny is it seems like Alicia actually respected Harley more as a supervillain and feels that she sold out just a little bit by joining the Batfamily. Also, Alicia still seems to have no idea about Barbara's double life as a hero, and Harley tries to cover things up by saying that they're all part of the same swim team. It's only here too that the episode finally decides to follow up on the sleepwalking subplot from the end of the last episode. Apparently in her dreams, Harley still very much sees herself as a villain, right down to wearing her classic red and black costume. Alicia says she went through something very similar before her transition, something about repressing a part of yourself so much that you end up acting out elsewhere, and hey, as we saw from season 2, nothing is worse than a Harley who's currently repressing. At first, Harley thinks Barbara might have been kidnapped by a group of ice-themed villains, and yes, DC Comics really is famous for having more ice villains than just about anyone else. We got Captain Cold, Icicle Jr., Snowman, and you know what, they probably could have put in like a dozen more if they wanted to. The big punchline of the episode is of course that the Ice Boys are totally innocent and they were just having a fun vacation weekend together. Turns out Barbara had to come to pick up her mom at the cabin after her dad abandoned her, only to get stowed in and then eventually abandoned by her own mother, who in turn ditched her to go party with the Ice Boys, thus the title of this episode. And honestly, it's right around there at the very end this episode begins to peter out, though we are treated to a little stinger implying that we're going to have to solve the mystery of what happened to Nightwing while everyone was busy doing this. And so that was Getting Ice Dick Don't Wake Up, an episode that I certainly wouldn't call an instant classic by any stretch of the imagination, but it did see the return of a fan favorite character in Jim, as well as the introduction of several new characters who look like they're going to bring something fresh, new, and funny to the latter half of season 4. From a character standpoint, it's also interesting to see Ivy as someone who's always wanted her work to speak for itself and never seek the limelight instantly get corrupted by fame and attention. Likewise, Harley had a really crappy family of her own growing up, built a loving family out of her own crew, but now is being forced to try and do it all over again with the Batfamily. Will they ever accept a former villain, especially one as chaotic as Harley is, or will she eventually be forced to try and find a support network outside of her work as a superhero? Only time will tell, but I'm interested in taking that ride. So until we meet next time, everyone, this has been Cave Joel. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, be sure to like and subscribe and follow me on Twitter so you always know when a brand new video is about to drop. And until next week, everyone, bye-bye.